we're back. We're back with more G1 CLIMAX 34 daily coverage here on the MrWarrenHayes Show podcast. And we are inching ever so closer to the end. I say more, but we're in the final throes of existence for my daily coverage here this year. Hi, I'm Warren, by the way, and welcome. Yeah, we've got the final night of A block action to break down here, and we're gonna get to it. But just before, I'm gonna remind you to leave a like on this YouTube channel. This, not the channel itself. Subscribe to the YouTube channel though. That'd be tremendous. But like on the video. Why am I messing this up? It's not as if this is the first time I ever tell you about this. Leave a like on the video or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, 5-star rating on Spotify. That would be tremendous, and thank you very much in advance. But, hey, listen, we've got ourselves night 15 here in Niigata at the Aore. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the name of the venue. The Aore Nagaoka, I believe. 3,022 people got into from Niigata. Got in on the action on night 15, which, by the way, was of course today, August 12, 2024. If we do our little comps from last year, from night 15, which was at the Yokohama Budokan, 2,360. So night 15 was the end of C block, and we had Evil and Shingo in the main event, David Finlay and Eddie Kingston in the co-main event. So compare that to night 15 this year, where we had Naito and Great Okan there, as well as Shota, Umino, and Evil. Well, yeah, it's a substantial boost from last year. Again, these are not perfect one-to-one comparisons. We're not in the same city, the same venue, even the same date. We're a couple of days removed. But nonetheless, they're interesting to point out. If we take a look at the last time New Japan was in Niigata in the same venue, it was a little earlier this year. It was the finals of the New Japan Cup, actually. Yota Tsuji defeating Hiroki Goto was the main event. 3,003. So, the people in Niigata, they like themselves their shows that have meaningful main events, that have things happening on them, right? Because everything was structured, put together to make sure that tonight's show, again, flipping between the nomenclature, who cares? Everything was put together so that night 15 today would have drama till the very end, and you got to get into it. Yeah, I was into it. Like this was something that was perfectly put together, where I was like, there was just suspense and drama. I don't know if this was, well thought out, but the drama that finally led to today's show was absolutely phenomenal. And it got me into it, and it was dramatic. It was good. The finishes were good. Let's look. Here are the results. Gabe Kidd defeated Callum Newman. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated SANADA. Shingo Takagi defeated Jake Lee. Shota Umino defeated Evil. And the Great Okan defeated Tetsuya Naito. Look, there may have been nights of the G1 this year. That kind of sounds like Knights of the G1. Sounds like a medieval band of knights. I was trying to be clever, but I was like, just call them what they are. There may have been nights though of the G1 this year that may have captivated me more, that got me more excited than this. There weren't many, but those that were special were very much indeed special. It might not raise to that level, but this was a compelling, fascinating, and interesting to the very end G1 that if you follow it like you and I do, you got your spreadsheets open, you got your notepads open, and you're jotting everything down. If you're one of these, I can't see how you could not have enjoyed this last night of A block action. This was tremendous. This was absolutely tremendous. Let's get to it. There was one match on the card which was, well, in fact, okay. Well, we talked about it on the preview, right? Last time when we were looking over tonight's festivities. There was really one dead match on it, which was Gabe Kidd and Callum Newman, which just happened to be the opener. Gabe Kidd won. There's not much to add here. I thought it was an okay match. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. It very short. It's like at 6 minutes 52 seconds. Like it's a short match. It just got straight to the point. And there's this one spot that Callum Newman does where he does a backflip into a German, which was absolutely tremendous. But it was essentially Gabe. They were pounding on each other, and Gabe Kidd landed 2 pile drivers to put him away, and then that's it. Like there were no stakes. Not one guy winning or losing could affect the outcome. Like this was a dead match. But Gabe Kidd did attack. First of all, I think this is the only match in the G1 where Gabe Kidd came out with the strong heavyweight title, or the strong openweight title, or am I wrong? I feel like it's the only one where he's actually carried his title around. And I think it's significant because then after the match, he attacked Callum Newman, clearly to set up an angle, probably for something either at, Capital Collision or something maybe down the road at a Rev Pro show or, something like that. That's what I'm feeling right now. Because this angle was set up to set up a challenger for Newman here. Look, that's fine. I think we've said enough. Then Zack Sabre Jr. defeated SANADA. As you recall, we had mentioned that SANADA had no path to victory. He was officially done. Zack Sabre Jr. was a shoo-in to move on in the playoffs. So the question here was mostly, will Zack Sabre Jr. clinch the bye in the playoffs? That was the only reason why this match had any interest. Because even if Zack lost, even if Zack stayed at 12, he was still in the playoffs. Like he would still be a player nonetheless in the playoffs. But the question is, if he went to 14, he absolutely then cinched the bye, which he did in a fantastic match on top of that. Like I don't think there was a reason for this match to be as good as it is. And I feel like Zack Sabre Jr. gets the best out of SANADA every time they wrestle. Like I think it's just one of those things where these two guys click, and SANADA needs to work with guys who click with him. I think that's where he becomes truly special here. And they're started off with some ground games, some rolling pin attempts. They trade some shots, a drop kick and a plancha by SANADA follows. Then Zack Sabre Jr. does the neck crank, followed by a drop kick. SANADA does the magic screw and a dragon screw leg whip on top of that. Zack catches the moonsault attempt and then ties him up in and out of variants of arm holds, and it's just tremendous. And the struggle going on from SANADA. SANADA's doing a fantastic job here, just selling this struggle, this torture rack that he's been thrown into, and it's just tremendous. And then eventually he fights back, and they go in and out of pin attempts and clutches, and it's just great stuff. The timing is impeccable. They're right on top of everything. It's just great stuff. SANADA does a Shining Wizard. Zack Sabre Jr. avoids the deadfall. They're in and out of deadfall attempts, Dragon Sleepers, Zack drivers, and finally, Zack lands the Zack driver for the win. Just an incredible match. Tremendous stuff. I gave this 4 1/4 stars. I thought this was absolutely fantastic and well worth your while. And Zack is at 14. SANADA is at 8. Look, you want to see what a fall from grace looks like? SANADA is the guy who blew through his block last year. This is a guy who absolutely, I don't know if it's a fall from grace. Let me rephrase that. This is an indication of how the office perceives SANADA moving forward. Last year he blows through his block. He's IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and so on. Now he's just another guy at 8. Like he's been in, the schmutz of the 6 to 8 point schmutz for the majority of the tournament. He's not a standout. He's one of 4 guys who has 8 points. It's fascinating to me. Just an interesting little side note here. Shingo Takagi defeated Jake Lee. This is aggressive early on. Shingo is the aggressor without any question. But then Jake Lee sends him to the floor and gets in control, slapping on the main event chin lock as we get back in the ring. Goes for some knees and his sleeper, and he's relentless with the knees. And Shingo is selling his ribs throughout the match, right? Because of all the knees he's been eating in the gut. Suplex by Shingo Takagi, fights out of a sleeper, and then lides a sliding bomber. They trade some strengths, a pumping bomber, a back suplex by Jake Lee, Death Valley Driver, and a superplex by Shingo. They trade some blows, and Shingo lands that guillotine power bomb, pumping bomber, the guillotine. I don't know how to call it, but he's done it a couple of times where he lays in with the pumping bomber, but holds on to the neck, and then goes into a pin when both guys land on the floor on the mat. And I think that's the thing. I think that's that's a quick way to put a guy away, and that's what he had to do here with Jake Lee, because maybe probably the ribs and whatnot would not have been helpful to land a Last of the Dragon or whatnot. I know he was picking him up and throwing him around, suplexes and whatnot, but this was a nice, tidy little way to put it away. Look, it's just Shingo got the best of him on this night. It's just as simple as that. And so he's at 10 points. Jake Lee is at 8, and Jake Lee really didn't like this, and he attacked Shingo after the bell. Now, as you recall, even if Jake Lee had won this match, there was no path for him to victory on this one. He would have been eliminated. However, this is where the drama started for the rest of the evening. Well, before we get to the drama, like I mentioned, Jake Lee attacked Shingo after the bell because he was very frustrated and put the boots to him. Clearly, they're setting something up. We've still got a tour coming up, with multiple tours coming up, so we'll have some little extra juice here. I'm not saying this is the Wrestle Kingdom program for Shingo, but there'll probably be some Jake Lee, Shingo Takagi stuff to happen in the near future. Now, this is where the drama started, because, like I said, Jake Lee at 8, done. But Shingo needed this win, obviously, to advance, and then everything sort of hinged on whether or not Evil and Naito were going to win or lose on their end, because should you recall, Shingo had tiebreakers over them both. So the path to victory for Shingo was for at least Evil or Naito, at least Evil or Naito to win, to lose. Excuse me. At least one of them. That was his. Well, one of them had to win and one of them had to lose, right? Something like that. That was his path to victory. And that's where we were at. So the drama began right then and there. Then we moved on to Evil, Shota Umino defeating Evil. This is one of Gedo's, I think this is one of his favorite booking tropes, you know, to have a guy who is, for the G1, I mean, having a guy who is completely eliminated, like doesn't have a chance, but come and screw up someone who is very much in contention. Well, that's exactly what happened here. Although I hated this match, you know, it starts off with Evil, you know, bullying the ring announcer into reading a statement saying that Shota Umino is not here tonight and therefore he forfeits the match. And then he tries to get the ref to lift his hand, and the ref's not doing it because it's like, no, we're having a match. And then it happens, and it's just, there's just so much House of Torture stuff. Like, I remember at the start of the tournament, I was saying, you know what, the House of Torture stuff, not that bad, not too bad. We're having a nice little tournament. Sure, they're doing their nonsense. They're doing their dingling nonsense. But, you know, it's not overwhelming me. It's not, you know, it doesn't bother me. It's not so bad. Well, tonight, they made up for all the nights where I was going soft. And we got ourselves a good old-fashioned House of Torture circus of fools. Yeah, you know, everyone was there except Narita. They even got Sho in, you know, waving his fucking wrench around. And I mean, there's just so much nonsense. Then there's so much nonsense to the point that Hiroshi Tanahashi runs in his suit to fend off the invaders, and they're like substituting referees. We end up getting red shoes. And I wrote it right here. It said, "God, this sucks." I really, really did not like this. And, you know, low blows and whatnot. And eventually, you know, we get a Death Rider for the win. 2.25 star. I think, is this my lowest rated match of the tournament? Or it's tied with the Jake Lee match? Anyway, this ensured that Evil was eliminated. That's the thing. This made it that so that Evil was eliminated because he's tied with Shingo. Shingo has the tiebreaker. So from this point moving forward, Shingo was positioned as being one of the guys. So again, lots of drama, lots of stuff going on. Even though the match itself stunk, the overall arc for the standings was still there. And it was like, okay, this is good. This is exciting. Let's go. And by the way, I forgot to mention, I'll just make this point right here in regards to Jake Lee. This guy turned things around, quite frankly, throughout the course of the tournament. Now, I'm not going to sit here and suddenly, you know, tell you that Jake Lee is my favorite pro wrestler. Okay, we still got a ways to go, but I think he's been like, from how things started to where we are now, and the path that we took from night 1 to night 15. It's been tremendous. And he has just changed course. A completely different guy. And I'm okay with it. Now, will that maintain throughout the rest of his New Japan run? Because you know he's not going anywhere. He's not going back to Noah. I know there's some people who think like there's some great conspiracy, but he's not going back. He's sticking around. He's sticking around. You should do that with Kanasuke Takeshita too. And then the main event, where Great-O-Khan defeated Tetsuya Naito. And listen, I thought Great-O-Khan wrestled a very good match here. The match was fine. And I think Great-O-Khan delivered and over-delivered. And I think he worked to Naito's strengths, masking the weaknesses. I thought he did a masterful job at it. And because he's working the knees. And that's the thing. Tetsuya Naito has no more knees. So why not just go for it then? Right? So he's wrangling him up into submissions and locks and all sorts of wackadoo submissions, right? He's maybe not too wackadoo, not extremely wackadoo. I got a little carried away. But he's going for the leg and he works the leg so much and he's dominating. He's dominating the match so much. Like he is in control for so much in this match. I promise you, I'm watching this and I'm saying, Naito's going for it. And I was kind of a little disappointed. And this is coming from a guy who is a Tetsuya Naito fan. But and I was like, oh, well, okay. There was no way Naito was giving so much to not win this. Boy, was I surprised when Naito hits a Destino and it doesn't work because Great-O-Khan kicks out and Great-O-Khan does, I think it's the sheep killer, he calls it, and the eliminator, and covers Naito in that very Great-O-Khan way and gets the win, the 1, 2, 3. And I do recall, I think the noise that came out of my mouth was, ooh. Listen, Great-O-Khan has been tremendous throughout this tournament. He has been motivated. He's been crisp, energetic. Like he has been present on every night. He's been delivering the goods on every night. Solid, consistent, entertaining. And then comes to the main event here and delivers a fantastic, I thought the final third of this match was so fucking good. And I'm talking about overall, I'm grading this match 3.5 because the match was solid. It was a nice little match we were having, right? But I thought the finish was so good. I thought the last third was so good, and the surprise of Great-O-Khan pulling it off in that drama, in this story of the night, where it's like you have all these people neck and neck to get points, and we're gonna stay excited till the very end. We're gonna stay into it until the very end. In this overarching drama, we finish with Great-O-Khan getting a surprise victory, and I'm like, this is great. This is great. You see, this is what I talk about when I talk about doing stories in pro wrestling well. This was your story. Great-O-Khan throughout the tournament, picking up wins here and there, having solid matches, but nothing, that'll blow your mind. But being solid throughout, getting the points, staying alive, staying up on the board, and people getting excited for it. When is the last time you heard any arena chant for Great-O-Khan? During the match? After the match? This is not the same Great-O-Khan that we've seen for the past 18 to 24 months. It is absolutely not the same guy. I feel like this is the guy a lot of us saw when he made his debut, that very divisive debut. I think this is the guy that a lot of us saw when we were saying, no, this guy's, he's got something. He can be a player. And I'm seeing it. And it's tremendous. It's absolutely tremendous. And you see, Naito, like I mentioned, tries to do the Destino. can't get it done. It can't put him away. We're even starting to tell the story that the finisher stinks, that we have to do something else, or that Naito needs a break. He needs to recharge his finisher. I don't know. I don't care. But we've even started to say that, to tell that story. We've been telling it with Callum Newman as well. Callum Newman, look, in his match with Gabe Kidd again today, he's trying to land Oscutters, but he can't, because everyone knows. That's the thing, is like he's proper scouted. You want to talk about people who can't land their finishers? You got the champ and the curtain jerker. So Great-O-Khan, like I just said, puts the champ away, which technically should probably mean a championship shot, right? And again, there's tours coming up. That's good. A little Great-O-Khan Tetsuya Naito action, sure. If it's any reflection of what we saw tonight, I'll be fine with it. So that leaves us with Tetsuya Naito. Well, Great-O-Khan and Tetsuya Naito both finish with 10 points. And like we said, Great-O-Khan, same thing with Shingo, had the tiebreaker over Evil, and Evil got, so that's how Evil was kicked out, and all he needed was his win over Tetsuya Naito, and there you go. And he got it. I thought this was tremendous, a tremendous main event, but not because it was the work rate special, because the story around it was so good and compelling and dramatic, and it got me into it, and I feel like we got ourselves a good solid finish to A Block, and that made me very, very happy. That made me really happy. So Naito, out of the tournament, bold move, Cotton, like I've mentioned over the past couple of recaps, where I was saying, well, I could see Naito moving forward because he's a safe choice, because he's the draw. No, are you going to continue this tournament these last few nights and not have Tetsuya Naito in big spots? Well, we'll see how the attendance responds moving forward. But right now, there were so many compelling stories, and now I kind of feel like people want to see how far Great-O-Khan is going to go. Will Great-O-Khan be able to get through Shingo? I don't think so. I think your best bet at this point is Shingo versus Zack Sabre Jr. Although I could be surprised, because I've been surprised. I was surprised today. So that's where we're at for night 15. Recommendations, if you please. I would absolutely recommend you watching Zack Sabre Jr. versus SANADA. I thought that was a tremendous match. A really great match. Go check that out. Make time for it. Find time for it. And look, you could also just sit down and watch the entirety of the show. Probably the drama isn't as much there because the results and whatnot, but you could just, Gabe Kidd and Callum Newman is like, it's a 6-minute affair. It doesn't even overstay its welcome. The one true bummer is Shota and Evil, but a lot of people are okay with the House of Torture stuff, which is mind-boggling to me, because then they'll lose their mind when they see, they'll be okay with the House of Torture stuff, but then one guy interferes on one match, let's say on AEW, and they'll lose their minds. Oh my God, can we ever have a match without interference? I'm like, well, what are we doing here? Like, well, come on now. Let's try to be consistent. It's just another nice little breezy evening of pro wrestling that won't overstay its welcome, and you'll get a great match out of it, and you'll get a main event that will have a terrific finish, like a terrific finish. So why do you please feel inclined to check it out? So the final standings for Block A, as you can see, Zack Sabre Jr. For those of you with the benefit of video right now, Zack Sabre Jr. is at 14 points. Shingo and Great-O-Khan move on as well, and they will be fighting in the next round of the playoffs. Whereas Zack Sabre Jr. secures the bye, he will be facing the winner of that match, of the Takagi Great-O-Khan match. Everyone else is, of course, done, but you can see the standings there. Evil and Tetsuya Naito finish at 10. Bunch of people with 8 points, and Callum Newman with the worst record of the tournament at 4 points. And yeah, just to be clear, again, I think I let it slip, but just to be clear, I don't think Great-O-Khan is getting past Shingo. I think Shingo and Zack is a bigger drawing main event. So now we move on to previewing night 16, right? Correct. There we go. Just getting my windows organized. Don't worry about me. Night 16 of the G1. Instead of having 5 matches, we are going to have 4 because unfortunately, Yuya Uemura is legitimately injured and had to be pulled from the tournament. I could feel it, guys, gals, non-binary pals. If you listen to my previous recap, there was just something off with how he was selling. There was something, and I wasn't crazy about the finish either. The finish sort of felt like, okay, let's just go to the finish kind of thing. So, you know, there was enough reasonable doubt in my mind for me to tell you that, you know, I think Yuya I think he's legitimately hurt. And unfortunately, unlike I hoped for, they didn't have time to figure it out by Wednesday. He will not be in the he will not be of the festivities, which sucks, which means that Oleg Boltin gets the freebie, gets an extra 2 points. So he's going to finish ultimately the tournament at with 8 points, which I'm sure was unexpected. Now, as far as a guy being injured out of the tournament at such a late date, you could have a worse scenario. Let's try to see the blue skies through the clouds here. It could have been a lot worse. You know, we could have ended up with Yuya being a top tier factor towards the end of the tournament, and then getting injured, and then you have to put someone else over, right? We don't know if Yuya was supposed to move on, like if he was supposed to score his 10 points and then make it to the playoffs. We don't know. But, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of wackadoo situations. There's a lot of wackadoo situations here for Block B. You know, we haven't locked anyone down as the winner of the block, or as people who are able to move forward anyway. But I feel like he had he didn't have the best chance to move forward. But then again, who does in this tournament? Like, frankly, who has the best chance so far? I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. But we have the order of the matches for night 16, and these are very telling. The order of the matches are Hiroki Goto versus Hinare, El Fantasmo versus David Finlay, Konosuke Takeshita versus Ren Narita, and the main event is Jeff Cobb versus Yota Tsuji. Now, Hiroki Goto versus Hinare is going to open up. Would have been the second match, but this is going to be the opener. I think this is a bad omen for the G in G1 standing for Goto. I think it's I don't think we're in a good place for Goto in this spot in the tournament. And I mean, there's a he's got a chance. Here's the thing, is that he still has a chance to move forward, right? He still has the possibility of making it to the playoffs. And there's a couple of scenarios in which this can happen. And I'm not going to break them all down, because for real, there's just going to be an intense amount of what ifs here, because everyone is so close. Everyone holds tiebreakers over practically everyone. You know, my pal J. Michael from Voices of Wrestling is going to release a Bible of scenarios for the final night of Block B, just so that you can see how insane it is. You know, the composition of how all of this can go down. Like J. Michael, if you've read his stuff before on Voices of Wrestling, you know, he writes these epic epic novellas regarding pro wrestling, and he does it with this stage of the G1 as well. He did it for Block A, where he broke down all of the possible finishing scenarios. Now he's going to do it with all the paths for Night B as well, Block B, excuse me, as well. And there are so many, and it's crazy. Now the idea is that, and if you want to read it, of course, it'll be at voicesofwrestling.com. Maybe it'll be out by the time I finish recording this, maybe by the time you hear it. If not, it'll be on tomorrow. So be sure to check it out. That being said, the Goto possibilities, from what I understand, from what my puny brain has been able to put together, is that he has multiple scenarios, just like a lot of people. He has multiple scenarios to win, in which he can win. But there's two things that need to happen in this on Night B to ensure that he moves forward, or at least to have, not ensure, to have a chance of moving forward, because it's still dependent on, look, first of all, of course, he needs to win his match. He needs to get to 10 points. He has to be in the conversation. If he loses, he'll be at 8 and he's done. There's 3 people who have 10 points right now on the board. And Dave Finlay has to lose. So again, there are multiple scenarios around that regarding, you know, who loses, who wins, like Jeff Cobb if he wins, and Ren Narita if he wins. But if Dave Finlay loses, Hiroki Goto is in the best spot, the absolute best spot to move forward, because there we go, Block B, because look, because there, like I said, there's multiple scenarios. Like there's a scenario where if Cobb and Narita wins and Finlay loses, he goes forward. Like like I said, I don't want to dive into it. I don't want to start scratching at this, because there's too many things, but there is a possibility. There is a strong possibility that he can go forward. Like, you know, he holds the tiebreaker over Tsuji, over Takeshita, you know, Cobb, and he holds the tiebreaker over Finlay. But the problem is that if Finlay wins, Finlay gets 12 points, so the tiebreaker won't count. That's why Finlay has to lose. So that's why you have to root for El Fantasmo if you want the G in G1 to stand for Goto. You're going to hope that Goto defeats Henare, and then that El Fantasmo beats Dave Finlay. If you're a Goto head. And then there's a very strong possibility that Goto will move forward. It's just, you know, there's scenarios after that. Look, you know, Cobb wins, Takeshita loses, and so on. Look, We'll keep it at that. We'll try and keep it simple because I know it's late. I'm doing this much later than what I usually do, so I want to get this out to all of you as possible. So that's what we're hoping for our boy Hiroki Goto. For Jeff Cobb and Ren Narita, all they need to do is win to qualify. They need to win their matches. That's all they have to do. That's legitimately all they have to do. Same with Dave and same with Dave Finlay. And from what I also saw, Dave Finlay has paths to victory even if he loses the match. Even if he loses the match, there's still paths for him to win, which include Goto losing. So, look, I don't remember. Ever since I've been doing the daily coverage year after year, I don't recall a block being so hotly contested, so close in all the points as B block has been. I really don't recall. But here we are. And it's really too close to call. And I think anyone can move forward. Excuse me. Like, if you're asking me, and I'm just shooting this off the top of my head, I don't know if this is even a realistic trio, but Tsuji, Takeshita, and Goto would make for a hell of a playoff. That would be interesting. And I'm thinking Tsuji has to go through, right? Tsuji has to go through to the playoffs. Would New Japan be bold enough to book a tournament under the umbrella of we're pushing new guys, we're doing, it's time for the new stars to shine, which a lot of them did throughout this tournament. Well, and we'll talk about that when it's time to wrap things up. But have none of them move on to the playoffs. I'm not saying block finals. I'm just saying the playoffs. That would be pretty friggin' bold, right? That'd be really bold. But we'll see in just a couple of days. This, of course, is going down on the 14th. So on Wednesday, in Hamamatsu, at the Hamamatsu Arena, I'm very excited to see how this is going to go. It's going to be compelling. It sucks for Yuya Uemura, don't get me wrong. It sucks tremendously for Yuya Uemura, but we still have ourselves some compelling play here moving forward. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see how all of this is going to shake down this upcoming Wednesday. So I'll be back for the last night of regular G block action. I'll be back for the last night of G1. Am I going to say it? Am I going to be okay? I'll be back for the last night of block action. I did it, Dad. On August 14th, but don't forget, I'm not wrapping up the daily coverage on that note. I will be doing on Saturday a playoff recap and review. So not necessarily, I won't be doing anything for the playoffs, which are going to be on, the playoffs being on the 15th. So the Block A playoffs, I will not be doing a show just for that. I'll be instead doing a recap show on the 17th on Saturday, recapping both nights of playoffs as opposed to doing both. And the finals will be handled on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast this upcoming Tuesday, well, in a week from now. So that's how it's all going to shake down. So we're very close to the end of the daily coverage, but it's not the end yet, But it is the end of this specific recap. So we'll wrap this up. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me today. A like, a review, a rating, don't forget. That's all tremendous. And I'll see you Wednesday.